All right, I am now joined by a very, very special guest, actually a recurring guest, friend of the pod, is Detroit Tigers pitcher Dietrich Enns. Dietrich, it's so great to see you. It's been so great catching up in the few minutes before this. For those who don't know, Dietrich came on the pod in 2022 with Brian and I when they were both playing for the Seibu Lions in Japan. Lots happened since then. I'm super excited to catch up. Dietrich's the man. How are we doing?
Doing great. Yeah, it's thanks for having me back on the pod. It's been a while, but yeah, looking forward to talking to you and just catching up.
Yeah, man. So, like I said, Brian O'Grady and I did the pod for a long time together.
Mhm.
So when you came on in 2022, um, like, can you take me back to that time? Like, what was your favorite experience from playing over there in Japan? You're obviously there for for another year after that, but what was some memories that stand out from Japan?
Man, a lot of good memories from Japan. Was there for 2 years and had a lot of good teammates that I still talk to this day. And just the experiencing of the culture in Japan, the food was amazing, and just the fan interaction was awesome. Just totally different. But the fans were great, and so it was just I really look back fondly at my time in Japan.
I remember talking to Brian about it. I think Brian, if I remember this correctly, he said that he should have done a better job of like getting out, exploring, really ingratiated himself into the culture. I think he said you did a little bit better job of that. Did you travel around and see some of the sites and culture and stuff?
Oh yeah, yeah. If I remember correctly, O'Grady, he was always just in his room playing video games or having pizza or something like that in his room. But my wife was there for most of the year, my first year, and so we on off days and when we got time, we got to travel around. And on the All-Star break, we went to um, Kyoto and got to see some of that stuff. Rode the bull train together with her, and so we got to go see some of the really really cool spots around Japan that would have never thought I would have been able to see it at some point. So it's a great like tourism country, and just going around is really really cool.
I had Jansen Whitty, another one of your teammates over from
Hmm.
Cebu on this pod. He had a great like Brian story where Brian would just go back and like they had like a mirror room where you could see your swing, and he would just go back there and just scream at the top of his lungs. Is there any other
Yeah.
Brian memories that I can ask him about after the pod?
I do remember hearing him scream from the tunnel in a few games, but all the Japanese guys were probably a little scared of him at that point. But that I know he hit really well there, so so that's what I remember him hitting some homers off some pretty big name guys over there.
Yeah, it's he would come back and tell stories about facing like Sasaki and Senga and all these guys. From the
Hmm.
pitcher's perspective, from your point of view, like there's so many great arms over there in the NPB. Like, were there some guys where like you would make a point to like get out and watch them, or just like pitching against them some days? Like, who are some of your favorite arms to watch pitch over there?
I mean, we faced Yamamoto and Sasaki probably the most. So those guys were, some of the higher end guys. Clearly they're over here now pitching really well. Senga was another guy that I think I pitched against him at one point in Japan, and I got to pitch against Sasaki. So you got to, in the middle of the game, you're, focused on your stuff, but you're playing catch on the side, warming up, and they're out there throwing, 100 miles an hour. So it was pretty cool to, face those guys. And seemed like Yamamoto every time he faced us was like 9 innings scoreless. So it was impressive. I knew he was going to come over here and do really well.
That's awesome. Did you ever try like mess around with like a splitter or a forkball or some of those pitches that those guys are so well known for?
Yeah, so I was working on a changeup. My changeup wasn't very good at the time, and I was working with the pitching coach who, in his own career, he had a pretty good split. So I was trying to get a split, but tried it, didn't really work out for me. It's something like that takes a lot of time and reps. So I wasn't able to like get the split, but I definitely tried it while I was over there.
Did you change anything else about like the way you were as a pitcher when you before Japan when you got to Japan? Because like the style of ball over there is a little bit different than the major leagues and some of the affiliated stuff. But like, did you change anything about you when you went over there?
My first year, I was able to have some pretty good success with just my kind of bread and butter with my fastballs up and cutters. And then the second year, I, didn't do so well. So started, the hitters were starting to adjust to me, so I was starting to adjust back to them and added just a couple different breaking ball shapes just to try and get them off of, what I'm trying to do. So I think overall, added a few pitches, but I think that just helped me make me a better pitcher overall. And just the pitchability factor of throwing more pitches, 4, 5, 6 pitches to some guys because, they're just trying to fight off pitches as best they can. So you're trying to just give them different looks and you're facing the same teams over and over again, same hitters. You might face them 20, 30 times a year because you're facing, you got 5 starts against them or something like that. So you're seeing guys a lot more. So you got to throw, multiple pitches and just, be able to execute them.
Yeah. So 2 years in Japan, then he went to Korea for a year. So 3 years
Mm-hmm.
overseas. Was the goal
Mm-hmm.
during that time, like, was it always like a mindset of, I want to get back to the big leagues and affiliate a ball over here? Or was there even a part of you that's like, the money's pretty good. I'm traveling the world. Maybe this will be my career. Like, where was your head kind of at in that time?
Yeah, my goal was always to get back to the major leagues, and just face the best hitters in the world and just be, on the highest level. But, the experiences over there is, second to none too. Like the way you're treated, the way the fans are, so I thought it was, good opportunities over there just to get better. And there might have not have been as good of opportunities here in the States at the time. So just wanted to go over there and thankfully I was healthy the whole time and just wanted to. I knew I had the stuff to get back to the major leagues. So just needed an opportunity, the right opportunity to come back and fit in and get kind of plugged in back over here.
Because that's kind of the whole thing, right? Because like you go over there and they say we have 30 starts for you versus like an affiliated, because you had done that for a couple years prior to going overseas, right? Where it was like a 2017 here, a 2021 in the big leagues, a lot of interim minor league up down stuff. Like was the
Mhm.
stability and the just like the here's 30 every year, was that, did that play a factor in obviously going over there?
Yeah, for sure. You're handed the ball either on opening day, and they're doing everything they can to keep you healthy and make every start because the team's success partly relies on the foreign players' success too. So like they're you know giving you every opportunity to succeed over there, and you're getting the ball and you're getting on a really good routine. So I really enjoyed that. And Korea last year got to throw like a career high in innings, so that was awesome to just go out there and get the ball every fifth, sixth, seventh day, whatever the schedule is like, and just go out there and do the best you could to help the team win.
Yeah. How did the Tigers opportunity come about?
Yeah, they reached out pretty early when the team in Korea that I was playing for, the LG Twins, they didn't really want to bring me back. So then Scott Harris, the GM of the Tigers, got in contact with my agent pretty early on in the offseason and, expressed interest. And, then we had a meeting over like a Zoom call, and their plan was really in line with what I like to do and, my strengths and stuff. So they really laid it out. And so we jumped on board and, couldn't have been happier with, the way their pitching development has gone. It's been, really good. From top to bottom, from day one. So it's been really cool to be a part of, and it's a team that's playing really well. So it's been a fun group to be a part of.
Oh my gosh, yeah, the postseason run last year, like following from
Mhm.
afar, like you had to be super excited when you found out it was Detroit, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Watching that, I was watching their playoff games and their stretch run in the regular season over in Korea, and I was really impressed with like all the arms they were bringing out and just the way they were developing guys in their own system and stuff. So felt like I could come into the system and they could use my strengths, and I feel like I could fit in with the team. So yeah, was really excited once I found that they were looking into me, and so yeah, jumped on board.
Yeah, and well, also Central Michigan fire up chips, so like that didn't hurt.
Yeah, yeah, fire up chips. Being back in Michigan was pretty cool, because being from the Midwest and going to school in Michigan, Detroit, is uh, kind of in the center of where I live now in Pennsylvania and back home. So it's like really, you know, really nice to be able to see friends and family a lot more frequently than playing over in Asia.
Yeah, it's a lot easier for for your family to come visit in Detroit versus
Hmm.
Japan or Korea.
Yeah.
Um, I'd love to talk about the Tigers, just like the way they operate, 'cause I'm fascinated by them from afar. So your manager AJ Hinch, he had this great quote. He said that like you dove in head first with like the Tigers pitching staff, pitching development people. And he said that like it wasn't just going to be the same old, same old. You were super open to stuff. Have you always been like that throughout your career, or was that like a learned skill to be able to accept stuff like that?
I think I've always been a little bit like that, but as you get older, and the game changes a little bit, you got to do what you can to improve yourself. Because if you're staying the same, then the league's going to pass you by. So I've found that after 2019 when my velo wasn't very good, and I was like, I got to make some adjustments, to get some velo, because the league's trending up. Like guys aren't getting jobs if you're throwing 89, 90 miles an hour anymore. So like I got, so work there, and then going over to Asia, you have to make adjustments to the league and the hitters. So I think I've always been a little bit like that and open to it. And then with the Tigers, they helped me with my changeup. I got a kick change, throwing the kick change, and that's been a real game changer for me. So just finding little ways to improve. And they have really smart minds over here of how to get better and like actionable ways that you can control to get better and to have success at the highest level. So yeah, when I was hearing that, I was all on board to find little ways that they could help me get better and just like be open to new ideas to stick around and to keep pitching.
I'm so glad you brought up the kick change. I read a whole big thing about this, so yeah,
Mhm.
it just dying to ask. It's like when you got there, how quickly did they come to you and they presented you with, hey, there's this pitch. It's pretty in vogue right now. Like, how quickly did the kick change enter the conversation?
That's funny you asked that because I think it was my very first bullpen in spring. There I was throwing a bullpen, and I found a good changeup grip in Korea last year that worked pretty well for me, and so I was throwing that in spring training, and then the pitching coordinator was like standing there for my bullpen, and I threw a couple bad ones, or like one, it's like first bullpen in spring, so like they weren't all good. A couple of them were fine, but then he's like, why don't you, like, we stopped mid bullpen. He's like, why don't you try this? And he gave me a grip, and then I threw it, and I was like, the movement on the pitch was like something that I was kind of searching for. I knew I needed to change up to like you know separate from a fastball a little bit more. So got that, it kind of clicked from like day one of spring training, and just kind of refined it over this time, the last few months, and it's become a really reliable pitch for me that's really helped me this year.
Yeah. So how does this one compare to the one you had thrown previously?
It's similar, but like just the kick change part of it, like where you're kind of spiking your middle finger is um was the biggest difference for me. Is just pulling that middle finger up to where it's kind of like spiked on the ball. Because the way I throw the ball, my middle finger has a lot of like it helps like carry the ball a little bit. So, I was throwing my changeup in the middle, like the old changeup, and the middle finger was, making the ball like carry a little bit more, and so I needed to like separate it some more. So just spiking it helps the ball drop a little bit better, and it's not really uncomfortable for me to throw. So it was an easy decision for me to make the change right there.
How does that compare to like, because I know Skubal throws a seam shifted changeup and I don't fully
Yeah.
understand what that is. Is that similar to a kick change?
Uh, I would say sort of, but not really. The way he almost thinks like he's trying to cut his changeup. Like he's throwing it like just with these two fingers, and he's not trying to pronate at all. He's just trying to come through like you would a cutter. And the way that it comes off his fingers, and the seam shift like takes the ball to the arm side as opposed to like cutting it to the glove side. Whereas mine, I'm trying to just stay behind it, and the middle finger kind of kicks the axis a little bit, so it kind of flattens the spin out. So then it doesn't lift the ball as much with my middle finger not really playing a part in the throw. So it just creates a little bit more drop, and it's a little bit more drop than the hitter is anticipating.
Wow. I'm fascinated. I'm a huge Skubal guy. Guy's a hoss. Like,
Yeah.
what is it like showing up and playing with Tarik Skubal?
Oh, he's an animal. It's really fun to watch him just go about his business. He works incredibly hard at everything he does. He's dialed in from the moment he gets to the field. Just seeing him work out in the weight room and throw bullpens, like just from spring training all the way to this point, being teammates now in Detroit. It's really cool. And then he goes out there, and it's just pure domination every time he starts. So it's impressive. Like he's on a run where the only a few guys have, ever gotten to. So it's pretty cool just to kind of, you know, be a fan of him, from the dugout.
you've been around the game a long time. Like, have you
Mhm.
seen anybody that like compares to him? I feel like he's so unique in the fact that like, yeah, he's going deep into games. He's throwing hard the entire time. You know, he's dropping the changeup in there. Like, he's my favorite pitcher to watch. I'm sure he's one of yours.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I was watching him last year dominate, and now to be teammates with him is really cool. As far as teammates go, I don't think I've ever seen anybody like on this level of anybody just pure domination. I mean, I'm sure there's been guys throughout the league that have had runs like Degrom had one, and then he battled some injuries, but he's kind of back to his old ways now. But yeah, Skubal's he's really ascending and becoming one of the top pitcher, if not the best pitcher in baseball.
I watched a video where he was talking about the way that like the Tigers they simplify everything. I think even his pitch com it only says change up. It doesn't say like location or whatever. Like, is that a
Yeah,
theme with like the Tigers pitching development? It's like keep it simple. Like, what does that some of that stuff look like when it comes to you?
yeah, yeah, yeah. They keep it pretty simple. Like they just want you to be in the zone and get ahead. And then they work on little details of like shapes and stuff like that, like what they did with my kick change and just how to throw it. But from since the kind of the first day of showing me the grip, they've kind of just let me run with it and make adjustments as I feel necessary. But yeah, and pitchers are successful when they're getting ahead and in 0-2 counts, and Skubal does it better than anybody of like 0-2 strikeouts you hear about all the time, and he doesn't waste pitches, so he knows he's the number one guy and has to go deep in games, and he does that, and he's just going right after guys, so he makes hitters really defensive, and so yeah, that mindset kind of carries throughout the system, and definitely throughout our team of just pounding the zone and being on the attack as opposed to trying to nibble corners or trying to throw pitches that are nasty, but it's like they're in the dirt and guys are just spitting on it. So I think being in the zone is a huge thing for our team to have success.
It's so yeah, it sounds so simple. It's like yeah, throw the ball in the zone, but like in your career up until this or until this, like have you seen like philosophies where it's differed from that, or maybe it's like de-emphasized throwing stuff in the zone? Because like I MLB Network breakdown of this, and it's like yeah, Scooble throws the highest percentage of stuff in the zone of anybody, or this might have been last year, but like yeah, it just seems like such a like yeah, throw the ball in the zone. But is that not always the case?
I think the way the game is evolving, I think more and more teams are just preaching that just because for whatever reason, I don't know, but yeah, they're seeing guys have success. The more strike ones they throw, the 1-1 strikes that they throw, you're just the separation in batters average and damage that they do, or if it's so it's just like a clear picture. It's pretty simple. You teach your 8-year-old team that same thing, just throw strikes. But the guys at the big league level all have like nasty stuff. So if you're just in the zone a lot more, you're you can't strike anybody out without 2 strikes. So you try and sprint to 2 strikes, and then you have as many pitches. You have the more 0-2 pitches you have, the more strikeouts you can accrue. And if you're 3-1 on guys, then you're going to walk a lot more guys. So it's just there's more runners on base. There's more room for damage. So yeah, you're just trying to be on the attack and put yourself in those plus counts that can really put guys away.
I know that like fastballs at the top of the zone have obviously worked great for you this year. I was going back and look some of your older stuff. Have you always been kind of like philosophy wise throw your heater at the top guy?
No, that really changed when I got to Tampa. Um, they just saw my metrics and they were like, you should never throw the ball below the belt. Like, just like when I was a younger player, it was like fastballs down and away and then changeups off of that and things like that. And I'd be throwing the ball down and it'd be getting smoked. And I was like, why is this happening? And then I think with the data that comes out without the TrackMan and Rapsodo, like it was clear that I should be throwing the ball up in the zone for more swing and miss and more pop ups. Not necessarily like a true like ground ball, sinker ball pitcher. So that's not my strength. So yeah, going to Tampa in 21 or in 20 and 21, that really opened my eyes to like, okay, where are my strengths at? What should I do? Throw your best pitches more often. And I think a lot of teams are now like catching on to that of like taking your best pitches, throw those more often because that's where you're going to have more success as opposed to like trying to trick the hitters with like other off speed and things like that. So just throwing your best pitches as much as you can into the good spots of where you have success is as simple as it gets.
I know that like there's so many like data analytics coming out every day, and like Baseball Savant has this thing now where they do like swing path tracking, where it's like a guy you play with, Riley Green, has the steepest swing. It's like 45 degrees. Right? So like
Mhm.
fastballs at the top get he has less success at the top than he does obviously down in his like nitro zone. Is that
Mhm.
something that like US pitchers have been aware of before? Like, all right, this guy's got a flat swing. He's probably can't really do it at the top versus launch angle stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, you take into account the guy's swing, whether he's got like an uppercut or more flat through the zone. Kind of their height, like, can they get more extension, or are they better on the inside or the outside of the plate, just on how their stance is, whether they're closed or open. Things like that you're always taking note of, and the catcher's taking note of, and your coaches are taking note of. You're watching video on guys' swings, and just to find holes in guys' swings, and the data will back it up to an extent. And so you just try to, read with your eyes in game to make those adjustments of like where that pitch needs to be. That's where I feel like the Japanese style and of hitters were a little bit different, and where I struggled a little bit my second year, because um, the zone is a little bit tighter there. So like there's not as much of a strikes called at the top of the zone. So I wasn't getting those strikes called. And then those guys are pretty disciplined, so they weren't chasing up. So it was like kind of taking away one of my strengths. So I had to learn how to pitch like in the bottom of the zone, and then like side to side, as opposed to like up and down. So that was, adjustment that I had to make in Japan, because those guys swings are a lot more flat through the zone. They're like more contact based, and they're not like trying to slug as much. I mean, there's a few guys like the Murakamis over there that definitely have the uppercuts, but most of the guys you face over there are flat through the zone. So like they're going to be easier. They're going to be able to hit that like carry heater a little bit better than like a sinker baller. So just you get those reps for those hitters, and you learn how to read those swings. And so I think it's made me a more well-rounded pitcher.
Yeah, especially like you said earlier, like if you're seeing those guys 20, 30 times per year, because in Japan you're playing the same teams a lot, like you have like a more of like an internal database, I imagine. But like you went from the rotation to the bullpen now. Like, has
Mhm.
it been like a learning process going to the bullpen? Because like as a starter, you have a couple times through the order you see them, you can kind of read where they're at that game. Is it harder as a reliever to have that kind of internal memory if you're seeing them once a game?
Yeah, a little bit. It's just a different routine. Like, as a starter, you're kind of like setting the pace of the game, and you kind of have a feel of the rhythm and stuff like that. And then as a reliever, you're kind of thrust into a situation. They're all kind of different situations. So, um, but it's at the same time, it's just pitching and hitting. It's just you versus the hitter. So like you're trying to just read the swings, and read the situation. What's this guy trying to do? Because like when a relievers come in, guys tend to be a little bit more aggressive than like a starter. They might see more pitches, so things like that. So you have to really keep that in mind. You're not just want to throw a fastball right down the middle, because these guys, with the guy in second, the guy's going to be swinging, and could do some damage. So you have to take that into account, and then just adjust your routine as you need, because you have to be available pretty much every day.
Is it a cool feeling getting older in the game, knowing that like there's probably not a lot of things in the game that like you haven't seen before or haven't experienced before? Like, have you had that thought that like, I mean, obviously, major leagues been there for a couple seasons, but just baseball in general, like you probably have such a large, vast knowledge of stuff that like you feel pretty confident out there that like I've seen this before.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, I don't have a ton of like major league experience at this level. So, just every day, playing this game is a blessing. So I'm just like fortunate to still be playing, and still be healthy and still feel good. And yeah, you take that experience with you from the time I was drafted to now. And you've seen a lot in the game, but at the same time, you're still trying to learn something. And there's always new hitters to learn, and new swings and new kind of tendencies, because the game's kind of ever evolving. So, um, yeah, it's not like you figure out the puzzle and you're good. Like everybody, is trying to still get better, and especially at this level, find ways to do well, and just to have success.
I want to take you back to your first start this year in Detroit against the A's, five scoreless. You get the win. Like, that had to be such an incredible, just whirlwind of emotions for you, getting called up and obviously getting your first win. And it was thousands of days. I felt like, what was that experience like for you? And like, what stands out from that time?
Yeah, that was just kind of a culmination of everything that had happened over the last, my whole career really. But like, It was really special for me to go out there after 4 years of not being in the big leagues. But just at the same time, like the amount of friends and family that were there for support was like I think the most meaningful to me as I kind of reflect on that day because it was like one of the best days for me in the big leagues. Probably one of the best days of my baseball career. Not because of the outcome, but just because of all the friends and family that were there to support and they were waking up at 4 a.m. to watch games overseas. They've been supporting me for so long. So like for them to just be there in person and then on top of that for me to do well and then the team to win, like just made it that more special. So it was really cool. And then to have my daughter there, like now she's like active and 2 years old running around crazy. So it made it really special for my wife and my daughter to be there too. So just really a really cool moment for, not only for me, but for all of them that were there to just be a part of the journey that I've been on.
That's awesome, man. You got a hell of a support system behind you. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So what did you allow yourself a moment like during all of that to like soak it all in, or was it just like strictly business that day?
No, it's pretty strictly business. I've been around long enough to like not let like the kind of the outside out and like while you're in the middle of a game because like those are just distractions and it can kind of take away from what you're trying to do out there. But after the fact, like when family and friends were able to come on the field and take some pictures, like it was just really cool. And to kind of go out to dinner that later that day, it just kind of soak in the day and just just enjoy the time with the people that have been supporting you for like your whole life. So it was pretty cool.
Saw a cool tweet from that day because like you pitched five and then the guys who came in after you. And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier about just like the way Detroit handles their pitchers and their bullpen guys. It was like Hannafy, minor league free agent. Holton was DFA'd at one point. Vest was a 12th round pick and was a Rule 5 guy. It seems like the way that Detroit has built this environment, it's super inclusive. It doesn't matter what background or where you're from. Like they're gonna get the best out of you. What do they do kind of like behind the scenes to kind of foster all of that, you think?
Yeah, I think it's just making guys comfortable at this level. Because you can come up to the major league level and be kind of timid. And so then you're not getting the most out of your ability. So just coming up here and really good communication from the front office to the coaching staff to the other players, with young guys, with new guys, with veteran guys. I think it's just it just makes guys play free and play to the best of their abilities, really simply put. And so I think when you're comfortable. Being in a clubhouse and being out on the field and, just they have a clear plan for you of how to, to be successful. It just simplifies it and you don't have to go out there and think or, play like you don't know what to do or, you don't know what pitch to throw. It's like, if laid out a clear plan of like what makes you successful. And then it's just going out there and executing. So when you're focused on execution in the game, that's, as simple as it can be.
I brought up AJ Hinch earlier. He's one of the best managers in baseball for a reason. I think there was
Mm-hmm.
another quote where he said that like you're here because you can help us win, and just like
Mm-hmm.
calming some of the nerves. There's a lot obviously going on probably at that point, but like that's got to make you feel so good that like I'm here for a reason. It's not just because of something else. Like AJ Hinch has got to be the man.
Yeah, no, he's an awesome manager to play for, and he's had a lot of time in this game as a player and a coach, so he knows, and so it is really cool to hear him say that, and he says that about every guy that gets called up. They're not here just to fill a roster spot, or they're here to help win games. So yeah, when you come up here, you just kind of you can simplify it and just go out there and play because everyone's had success at some point, so like and they know what it takes to be successful. The front office does a great job of finding guys that can really help the team win too. So yeah, it just gives you all the confidence in the world to go out there and do your job.
Man, and the way the Tigers been playing this year has been incredible. I was watching. Skubal went on part of my take, and he was talking about just like the environment, the clubhouse vibes that the Tigers have this year. He said there's guys that like Torque keeps it light, Jake Rogers keeps it light. Like, what's it
Mhm.
like in the Tigers locker room? Can you attest to some of that?
Yeah, no, it's pretty easy going. Everybody, the first thing I noticed when I got here was everybody's kind of dialed into their routine from the moment they get there. And there's moments in the clubhouse where they everybody keeps it light, and so and bus rides and plane rides. It's just like fun to be a part of the group. But yeah, when it's business time and the game's about to start and guys are showing up, getting their work in. It's really really cool to see everybody just dialed into their own plan and what it takes for them to be ready for that day. Everybody's routine's a little bit different, so like just everybody's kind of dialed in. So it just makes you want to just do your part and do what you can to really help the team win.
I'm becoming a big Jake Rogers guy. So I opened up
Mhm.
Twitter this morning. He's throwing knuckleballs last night. What is that?
Yeah, yeah. He's got a nasty knuckleball, and unfortunately, the game got out of hand where he had to get in the game. But yeah, no, he's pretty nasty out there when and he's like a fan favorite. The crowd loves him, so he's a great guy that keeps it loose. But he's a really special player too. He's a really good catcher, and he's a good hitter too. So it's but when he gets on the mound, it's pretty funny to see him throwing knuckleballs out there.
Knuckleballs for strikes, by the way. Like I looked
Yeah.
his ERA this year. It's 3.38 as a position player pitching. Like if you showed up to the bullpen one day and he's out there, just would you be surprised at this point?
Um, yeah, probably not. But as a pitcher, you don't want to see him out there unless we're winning by big. So you're really trying to keep him out of the game.
Yeah. All time mustache too. Would you ever consider like in solidarity growing one out like that?
I don't know if I could pull it off like he does. He can pull it off, and it looks good on him.
Um, Speaking of the bullpen, like going from the rotation to the bullpen, I think you've kept all five of your pitches, right? Is it hard as a reliever to like, because obviously each pitch you want to make sure you stay fresh, like, make sure they're all working. Is it hard as a reliever with five pitches to like keep all of them going?
It can be. If you're only going in there for an inning or two, like you're just you might not have an opportunity to throw a certain pitch like that. So you have to work really hard on the side to just keep everything fresh because you don't want to lose those pitches. And I think that's what helps make me successful is having the multiple pitches that you can throw in any count. So, um, but yeah, I've had a few games where I've gone like more than 2 innings. So you face more guys in the lineup, and so you're able to like show different pitches. But if you're coming in there as like a 1 inning guy, like you're going to your bread and butter pitches to get these guys out. So yeah, that's where you see a lot of relievers with like two, maybe three pitches that they're just keep sharp, but it's harder to have 4 or 5. But yeah, you just try and throw it on the side and really just keep them sharp there because you're going to need them at some point in a game, and you just don't know when.
Yeah. Like, yeah, obviously I've talked to guys on here before. They're like, you don't want to get beat with your third best pitch. So I'm sticking fastball slider, not maybe not going to
Mhm.
mix in a changeup or whatever. But like as a five pitch guy, like do you go off of like feel that day? Like, all right, this one's not working. Maybe I'll throw that one a little bit less. Like, is it game to game specific for how you kind of throw your stuff?
Yeah, yeah, it's game to game, and it's how you're feeling with each pitch, and it's also like kind of what's the best pitch to get the hitters out too. So we get reports on guys on where good pitches to throw them and where pitches to really not throw them. So it's like they're if their scouting report matches up against you in a certain way, then you attack them that way and things like that. Like I like to um, go off that. So it's something that you know it's kind of just game to game, and you just kind of never know what you're going to get out there. But you going into a series, you have a plan of how to attack each guy.
I've always heard, and guys have been on here saying that like the like bad bullpens equal good outings. Can you kind of attest to that? Where you've been warming up, you're like, I don't know if I have it today, and you just go out there and shove. Is it counterintuitive like that?
Um, Man, I don't know. I've had so many there's a mixed bag of it, but like you never want to be too dialed in on a bullpen before a start. Like, yeah, if it's like a really good bullpen, then you might be in for a rough game. But yeah, no, it kind of varies depending on how you do.
That's gotta be a bad feeling. Like I think I've wasted all of my good stuff in here.
Yeah, I've heard a story of Greg Maddux. Like he was dotting up in the bullpen, and he just intentionally threw one off the wall or off the backstop just to not be too sharp out there. It's just to save some good pitches for the game.
Yeah, exactly. All right, a couple last things for you. Um, Pitch tipping, it always comes up, I feel like, throughout the course of a big league season. Like we've talked about, you've
Mhm.
been in the game for a long time. Have you ever dealt with that at any point?
Yeah, I think there was, a situation maybe in Washington earlier this year where I was maybe giving away a pitch or two, that they were kind of keyed in on. So like at this level, everyone's dialed into it. Every team, has got cameras on you. So I think, the best you can, you just try to defend your stuff, like, protect your stuff because, the more information you give away to the hitters, like the better off that they're going to do. So, yeah, I think, as pitchers, you got to be really proactive on pitch tipping. So just be careful about what you're giving away, and you don't want to give away any information to the hitters.
Especially if there's a guy on second, because like you have that set of eyes directly behind you who's like, obviously could be relaying stuff like that would just be the
Yeah,
hardest thing ever to try to conceal it both from the batter and also from the guy behind you.
yeah, no, you have to do. That's part of what you work on the side is how to get to your pitches and how to hide it in the glove, and the guys kind of go all about it in all different ways on how to not tip. So we do a really good job here with the Tigers of just like, our staff is looking at our own guys and stuff like that. So just so we're not, giving away that stuff to the hitters, and because it can make a difference in a game. As you've seen clearly throughout this year, yeah, I personally, have that experience too. Like it can happen quick. If the guys know what's coming, then they're just going to be real aggressive, or they might just, if there's curveball coming, they might, auto take, and you're just like, okay, I need to make an adjustment here because it was too good of a take to know like that they knew what was coming. So you just really have to be aware of what's going on, and from the dugouts and from the coaches on first and third and from second. So it's all part of the game. So it's just something that you have to really be sharp with up here.
That's a great point about the breaking balls. Like you'll throw the best one of your life and they won't even like think twice about, or they won't even think about swinging at it. You're like, all right, yeah, that's too good.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just part of the game, and you have to, it comes with experience of knowing, like, okay, like they might know I might be giving something away here or something like that. So, yeah, when the hitters don't know what's coming, then you can, really just tunnel all your pitches, and get the swings that you're looking for.
I watched you were on Intentional Talk probably a month ago. You had
Mhm.
said that Mark Burley was a big influence growing up. He's one of your favorite guys. Like, and Mark Burley was like the fastest guy. This is pre-pitch clock. He was just naturally fast to the plate. Do you think that's something that you've taken with you from like watching him all those years? Like, do you try to be even before the pitch clock, like fast to the plate?
Yeah, no, I try to work quick. I think that's a thing that helps me be successful is, just not thinking too much in between pitches. So just kind of getting the ball and ripping. He was like at another level, like throwing as fast as, the games are always like under 2 hours or something like that when he was pitching. So if every pitcher was like him, there probably would have never even been a pitch clock because they wouldn't have needed one. So but yeah, he was awesome to watch growing up, just being from Chicago, and just the way he went about it. He, kind of did everything in his career, through 200 innings, like every year. He, won Gold Gloves, won, threw a perfect game, won a World Series. Like he's done it all. So he's kind of got like a career that's, yeah, any pitcher would, want to have.
So I went back and I was trying to watch some like old game stuff and like yeah, I can't believe we didn't have a pitch clock for all those years because these games there'd be like 30 seconds between pitches. Like they
Yeah,
take 4 hours.
looking back at it, it definitely it seems weird now to see all the time in between games. But I think it's good for the game and good for the fans, and just helps the game keep moving and keep the fan interest going. So that's what it's there for. So and watching on TV, the games kind of move too. So I think it helps the game, and it's helped the game grow a lot.
Does that mean you have to be on your like guys have to be on their game for like conditioning and stuff on the mound? Because like rapid fire pitching, you gotta be can't really have any more CC Sabathia type guys out there, just hosses. You need to be probably in shape to throw that fast.
Oh yeah, definitely. But it's been around for a while now, so I think everybody's kind of just, um, you know, they're accustomed to it now because I don't even know when the first year of it was. It was definitely they implemented it in the minor leagues first when I was there.
Yeah.
So you're used to it at this point. It's not really for guys like me. It's something that I don't really even notice. Because I'm always pitching with extra time on the clock, so it's not like I'm running it down to zero every time and trying to catch my breath. So yeah.
What is your bullpen entrance song in Detroit?
I've had the same entrance song since probably 2019. Every year, even over in Asia, it was "Oxygen" by Dirty Heads. It's like a little bit of a reggae song that my wife's not really a big fan of, but but I think for me it like calms me down, but also kind of like pumps me up for coming into a game. So it kind of is that like happy medium of like coming into a game and just kind of fires me up.
Dang. I've never been to a Tigers game, but that's one of the things I always like going to stadiums and seeing like bullpen entrance songs. Like my favorite all time was
Hmm.
Renegade, but when David Bednar comes out in Pittsburgh. But
Yeah.
um, are there other guys on your teams that you're like, dang, I wish I could steal that and use that as mine?
Uh, a little bit. I mean, I like some of the country songs, some of the rock songs are good. But yeah, no, I'm just kind of focused on mine when I'm going out
Yeah.
there because we're like in a bunker in Detroit, so we don't always hear the walkouts. Like we're kind of like sheltered from like the crowd noise and everything like that. So keeps us out of like the weather and keeps us kind of in the bunker. But Bednar's was pretty cool. Unfortunately, this past week got to see his twice against us. So as a fan of, and as a friend of him, like that was pretty cool. But at the same time, it came at our expense. So I was like, dang.
Yeah.
But it's pretty
Right.
cool. He's from the hometown kid. We're coming out to Renegade. That's pretty iconic for the city of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I guess that's right. Renegade as the opposing team probably doesn't hit the same as me like at the stadium. Like, yeah, they're playing the song.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But
um,
I can appreciate it from
yeah.
the just the fan perspective, how cool it is for him, and getting to talk to him in between games and stuff like that is pretty cool because we were together in 19, so that was pretty cool to like to see where he's come, and then meet back up after all these years is pretty cool.
What team were you guys on in 19?
We were in spring training together with the Padres. That
Oh,
was
that's
before
right.
he came over to Pittsburgh. So yeah, got to know him a little bit in spring training then, and then yeah, now getting to talk to him during BP and stuff like that is cool.
It's a small world, this baseball community. You run into guys like that all the time, I bet.
Oh yeah, it's the baseball community is so interconnected, and being around for as long as I have, I feel like I've got a former teammate or a friend, a friend on pretty much everywhere I go. Overseas or here in the States. It's like, oh, I played with this guy here. So it's really cool to see, everybody kind of when you come to play them.
That's awesome. My last question was, I don't think this has happened since you've been in Detroit. It happened for them earlier in the year, just like when the bench is clear and the bullpens spill out. How funny is that though? And have you ever been in a thing where it's like that you're just running out there to go stand in a circle for a little bit?
Um, Man, it hasn't happened to me at the major or minor league level. It happened, I think, once in Korea where we just kind of all ran out there and everyone's just kind of like, everyone's just like trying to calm the tensions down for whatever happened and trying to, it's usually the bullpen. Sometimes it's just like, what's going on? Like, what are we doing? But just running out there for support of your team. So that's really all it is.
Yeah, I would love it, hopefully you don't want it to happen because something had to have happened to have made everybody spill out. But just like as a fan watching the bullpen door, and like sometimes you have to run through the same door. Like in Baltimore, there's like one door, so like
Yeah.
both sides have to go through out there just to go run and stand out there. But um,
Yeah. Yeah, it is pretty
that's
funny to see the bullpen run in like 5 minutes late.
yep. Just they're not going to do anything. They're just and they have to go all the way back, so it's probably a big waste of time. But
Yeah.
this is awesome though, man. Dietrich, I'm pulling for you. You're killing it out there in Detroit. I think you found a great little home out there. So rooting for you for the rest of the year. Best of luck. Man, the way these Tigers are playing, man, it's gonna be super fun down the stretch. So thanks again for coming on, dude.
Thanks, Justin. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Great to see you again.